Is everyone having a good time so far? Yeah. So thank you so much for being here and being interested in this project that we've got going. The outpouring of support, the therapists that we have is really, really outstanding. So let's just take a couple minutes to get centered in our body and go within. And if you could take your right hand and place on your heart and your left hand on your stomach and take a few deep breaths and close your eyes. And as you inhale love, exhale fear. So let's do this for a few minutes. All right, that felt nice. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so we are ready to get started. So disclosure support, we are bridging the gap between yesterday and a new cosmic tomorrow. Cosmic Disclosure, both the show on Gaia and the ongoing disclosures of information from different whistleblowers, have opened up to the world a different, more expansive cosmic reality than most of us have previously known. As people awaken, they often find themselves experiencing a mixture of wonder and worry. Some of us who have already awakened to certain realities know that we have been preparing, albeit unconsciously, to help bridge the gap between yesterday and a new cosmic tomorrow. So disclosure support, we are therapists and holistic healers who stand united and ready to help plan for a post-disclosure society. We are calling for unity in the mental health community and seeking a way to assist others no matter what their spiritual background is or level of consciousness is. Questions about life's origins must be explored holistically. We do not have all the answers. We claim not to have all the answers to this complicated and ever-changing paradigm shift and encourage ongoing dialogue in the healing community. We encourage discussions on strategies to help regenerate new systems with sacred, energetic spirituality. We are seeking your input to be part of the beginning of this movement. This workshop is not only designed for mental health professionals and healers, but all of us, for everyone, because we're all called to be healers in a sense, and we have people that will be going through, our loved ones will be going through things that will need to be there for them. Here we'll learn the basic tools and guidelines on how to best to assist others in dealing with a shock, trauma, anxiety, depression, and the imminent psycho-spiritual crisis and mental health and wellness issues that are bound to arise. Ultimately, we are here to help others find meaning and stability when their worldview is shaken to the core. Yeah, thank you. Nice. Just keep slowly, slow motion. Is it Mercury in retrograde? I think it is, actually. Okay. We are therapists and holistic healers who stand united and ready to help plan for a post-disclosure society. Bear with us. Okay, the myth of invisible ships. When natives first saw European ships coming into their land, they really could not see the ships. They could only tell something was different. They noticed the change in their environment by the change in the wave pattern. These ships were not seen because they were out of their construct of understanding. This is where society is right now. Disclosure support is preparing to assist awakening and post-disclosure world in these rapidly changing tides, and we are here to meet people where they're at and in their own construct of reality. So, here. we are. We are a blend of certified professionals and holistic healers coming from all walks of life and all with unique backgrounds for the common purpose to serve others, to be of service to others. In our provider network system, we have a mix of psychologists, psychiatrists, licensed social workers, medical doctors, nurse practitioners, and Reiki masters and holistic healers from a wide array of disciplines in an effort to blend and integrate science and spirituality, making ourselves more useful to a wide array of post-disclosure and awakening mental health and well-being needs. At this time, many mental health care workers and healers are being called not to be only truthers, but we are called to be bridgers. There's a picture of a pretty bridge right there. So a bridger is one who bridges the gaps between yesterday and a cosmic tomorrow. We're called to be bridgers to assist others during the ongoing global dark night of the soul. We are here to mitigate shock and trauma that will follow the disclosure of extraterrestrial life and crimes against humanity. It's okay. So as bridgers, we have 1 foot in the exoteric and 1 foot in the esoteric, and thus are positioned to be of great service. We are called to assist others finding meaning, stability, and emotional well-being during a full disclosure event or during their awakening process. As people awaken, whether individually or more collectively, they're going to be looking to lean on old models and old systems and institutions in order to find their help and clarity. We desire to effectively blend the positive aspects of Western psychology together with holistic, spiritual, and alternative therapies and understand how this integration ties into a healthier post-disclosure society. Healing. We promote gently moving from set belief systems that no longer serve and societal, cultural, and spiritual paradigms that no longer fit is the key. These meaningful and vital belief systems that we have and foundational paradigms are to be respected and not completely thrown out. However, they must be integrated. The major religions do contain hidden positives and do not need to be thrown out, but integrated. Sorry, I'm just reading myself, and integrated. So it's all about basic integration, not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So we can still lean in our own systems and our religions and what kept us safe and comfortable, and they just must be integrated. Okay. And this is very important. We're not here to push any agenda, any religious doctrine, or our own belief systems on others. We encourage inward seeking, self-empowerment, and individuation. We nurture and support integration of old belief systems, religions, paradigms with a new information, new visions, and new options. There are positive truths and pieces of the Creator in all the major religions. This is a quote from Cynthia Bourgeau, I believe. She is a mystic and a priest. I love this quote by her. I've worked with many of the religious traditions, and I have a great belief, like the colors of the rainbow, they all belong together, and it requires every one of them to show the full spectrum of divine love. Okay, it's a lot of talking. Oh, okay. Why is disclosure support needed? So there's going to be questions of who I am. Am I unique? Am I loved by God? So this is after a disclosure event. These questions are going to come up. What purpose is there to my life? Who and what can I trust? The main Abrahamic religions will be particularly challenged due to the concepts that humans are masterfully created and purposed by God and occupy a privileged, unique place. People of faith may find that the discovery of ETs challenges their sense of significance. Even atheists will begin to question. We are conditioned and programmed to seek significance, meaning, and approval outside of ourselves based on outside circumstances. Suffering is when circumstances and conditions outside of our control do not reflect back what we desire. Our ultimate goal is to help others find a sense of inward calm, purpose, and meaning despite their spiritual background and belief systems in order to ease suffering. So, this is a quote from Carl Jung. The enlightened human consciousness breaks the chain of suffering and thereby acquires a metaphysical and cosmic significance. So our vision. So this is our vision to address the immediate trauma, ensure the safety of self and others in the event of a major disclosure event. Number 2, address the collective trauma. We are now being asked to individually and collectively face our shadows. Number 3, address the psycho-spiritual crisis. Sacred belief systems and worldviews that have been clung to will be shattered or at least severely challenged. Number 4, lubricate the intense change and shift that is needed to assimilate to a new reality. Number 5, to empower. We empower through the encouragement of research, self-reflection, with the goal of finding the divine inside. Number 6, provide a sacred space for folks to work through their own tension with compassion. That's a big one, with compassion. Number 7, ease fear. Vision and action. How are we going to do this? This is a big task. So number 1, to address the immediate trauma, assist people in maintaining the safety of self and others, provide people with a place to turn. Currently, we're in the works planning a boots-on-the-ground type operation or protocol in a major disclosure event, which includes the training and designation of community mental health first aid responders. Please sign up at the back. Yeah, we don't have the sign up, sorry, but if you're interested, you can go to the website. That will be announced here in a second. So another, how we address the immediate trauma, help stay grounded in the body in the present moment. Address the collective trauma. We are positioned ourselves to partner with additional therapists and healers with experience in trauma and crisis intervention. When disclosure hits, we will have a protocol ready to connect with these experts and help them with their own assimilation of disclosure. Once they are ready to help, they will find a ready-made structure in disclosure support to plug into. In this way, there will be many newly awakened caregivers with a platform from which to help the masses using their own skills. In other words, we will help train the caregivers to use their skills in the most efficient manner, since we will have been operational prior to any major disclosure. We can help be a positive catalyst for people to learn to accept, see themselves with compassion, forgive themselves. Then they are able to do that with all of reality, including their enemies. Restorative justice is a balanced way to seek and find true justice from a heart-centered, balanced manner. Okay, address the psycho-spiritual crisis. Shortly before his death, Carl Jung said that humanity must come to terms with its collective shadow or be destroyed by it. The ego is constructed to manage what we believe and constantly gathers meaning and assigns value. It is our platform to view the world, and it mostly controls what we can and what we cannot accept. Our ego clings tight and maintains sacred belief systems out of fear. Most are living on the mercy of outside forces and circumstances. We have been in survival mode. Or on autopilot. As a collective, we will be in a spiritual emergency, and most will be assigning meaning through their ego filters.
It's on the screen.
Huh?
We've got something on the screen.
Yeah, ready. Okay, awesome. So assistants can start by simply offering to discover a new aspect or understanding of God or a higher power that transcends our ego. God is whatever defines one reality. And this is a psychological interpretation of God as creator. Your God creates your reality and your structures and your orientation. Most people never question whether their own God exists and never realize their interpretation of the outside world is unconsciously imposed on. People with varying levels of conscious awareness will react differently when disclosures of alien life and crimes against humanity hits. No doubt that with disclosure, the world will enter a period of crisis on many levels. We know that in times of crises, people emotionally and spiritually fall back onto what they have known. We must assist in the transformation of outmoded and life-limiting ways of being into new ways of authentic living, true to our authentic nature. Again, they don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Yeah. Each of the traditions hold a place in universal work to reveal what divine love looks like in creative form and help us attain some felt sense that life hangs together by some deeper coherence and compassion. There is something more than our theologies and our doctrines and our dogmas and our principles. Try to take that and put it in a mental health form, but that mental health form never touches that sense that something holds together. So, meeting others exactly where they are at. So, first of all, start small. Baby steps is important. Encourage setting the intention and working towards a new way of thinking. Just setting intention is a good start. Encourage dialogue. Baby steps are okay to get to know the spirit within, and don't force them. Again, don't impose your values on them. Example. So one thing that I've done in the past couple years is just asking people, have you ever known not existing? Have you ever known not existing? Like, I've had that conversation with Lyft drivers, and it just ends up in a really, really interesting conversation, just to like spark ideas in people. Extract and draw from the strengths that already exist and what has already worked in their lives. This can include aspects of their personal faith, paths, and cultures. So it's about forming relationships, getting to know them. You meet others seeking support by a caring and empathic relationship. There is no one application or method because everyone's unique. So it's important to also ask open-ended questions. and they should be talking more than you. So find out about their life story, what motivates them, where do they come from, and talk about their family, ask about their family. What do they value? What is their spiritual and cultural background? Some will find the strength through their spiritual traditions, and some will find it without what they perceive to be the limitation of those traditions. Encourage integration of old systems, paradigms with the new. People will go back to what is comfortable to them, religious beliefs, and to science. They will not find the answers they are looking for during or after disclosure, and this is where we meet them. We must holistically blend psychology, science, and spirituality. So, meeting others where they're at, integration of the old with the new. So we're going to talk about spiral dynamics. Interesting, yeah. What's a spiral? Cosmic spiral. Psychologists Claire Graves and Don Beck began to see how people experience reality from different vantage points that seem to be layered like a spiral that range from total dualistic thinking to total non-dual seeing and living. Spiral dynamics has remained extremely helpful in giving us a sense of the ways reality is perceived by different people. Though we are all one in essence, we're parts of the one infinite creator, we do not all share the same degrees of conscious awareness. There are levels of seeing, and these are levels of seeing. The conscious awareness are levels of seeing. This theory is a great tool that describes the levels that are seen in both individuals and societies. In this two-tiered system, the first tier begins with the most dualistic and ends with the beginning of seeing interconnections between all things. First tier. So 95 to 99% of humanity are still operating in the first tier. So the red tier, for example, would represent drug cartels, gangs, prison life, warlords. There is a totally dualistic mindset where control is wielded by power, prestige, and possessions. About 20% of the population are reds. The blue level is a comfortable place for those who are in it. You now belong to a group, a people, and you are reassured by your belief systems that you are chosen and are in all ways correct. The vast majority of religious adherents enjoy this conscious awareness today. Cosmic disclosure will be hardest among these people because they are unaware, like all levels in the first tier, that they indeed move and have their being within a contained reality bubble. And with disclosure, that bubble will definitely burst. About 40% of the population are in the blue area. The orange level begins at the edge of different blue groups who begin to work together for mutual benefit. About 30% of humanity are oranges, and they hold 50% of the power. The appeal to working together for mutual benefit is the thrusting force. Capitalism, the Enlightenment, and the founding of America are sharp examples of orange movements. Disclosure will not be existentially threatening to orange thinking as it will for the blues, but it will create uncertainties that can be disastrous for mainstream economic systems. What will different energy industries do if technology is introduced that gives humanity free energy, for example? It's interesting to note that like red, blue, orange levels roughly correspond to the energy of the first three chakra the human chakra system. One would say that if humanity were a single collective body, then its first chakra triad would be found within the conscious awareness of these levels. The powers that have been operate from vantage points much higher and more holistic than the first tier levels. They methodically and very intentionally have crafted a society that perpetually keeps the mass of humanity in what amounts to be a closed circuit of the first three chakras. First tier. About 10% of the population is in the green tier. The green level is where pluralism and relative truths are honored. Many at this level look to the orange, the level below them, as too idealistic, hippie, new age, time wasters, or naive. Yeah, the truth is that green sees what orange does not. They see that the world is an intersecting and interdependent conglomerate of groups that include cultures, societies, multinational corporations, states, religions, etc. Their major questions are not what is in it for me, which is orange thinking, but are more about what responsibility do we have to the marginalized and to the earth. Excuse me one second. I'm definitely not used to talking this much, so as an introvert. So. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. You knew exactly what I needed. Thank you. Fellow empaths, thank you for knowing what I needed. Thank you. Okay. So the truth is that green sees what orange does not. They see the world as an intersecting and independent. I already said that, sorry. So the green level is roughly equivalent to the heart chakra of the human individual collective body. It's our belief that cosmic disclosure, especially if it's a full disclosure event, will act as a loud opportunity for humanity to enter into the heart space, the gateway to the higher centers where resides the ability to piece all of it together in coherence. Upon disclosure, people may first take 2 steps back and retreat to the old rooms of familiarity to look for answers, yet without loving and wise guidance, they will move on and mass 3 steps forward onto the new higher threshold of collective conscious awareness. The whole system, so the first tier being utilized by the cabal, the whole system is set up so the higher that you climb and the more successful that you are, the more entrapped you are in the closed circuit, and you don't even know it. They create a very attractive myth that happiness is found in ever-increasing personal and collective consumerism, even in the spiritual world. Yet this consumerism has been repackaged to appear as the correct path, the way to fulfillment. One need only to glimpse at the perennial tradition, the core spiritual teachings found at the root of all spiritual institutions, that subtraction rather than addition is the way to detachment, that less is more. Okay, now we're up to the second tier. In the second tier, collectives become aware that there are levels and that there are people below them and people above them. And all levels below them are considered important and true in their own way and honored. Holistic seeing begins wherein people intuit that all is united in a mysterious way. Heart activation is strong here, as well as higher chakra activation. People can enter into the frequency of the lower levels and engage as one of them for purpose of doing work. Their modus operandi is transcend and include. The positive ET groups operate from this elevated level and at levels much, much higher, yet they follow the ethos of unity and not separation. In unity, free will is the golden standard. Second tier, conclusion. The second tier in spiral dynamics is a quantum shift into a bandwidth of conscious awareness that can see holistically. For the first time, people have reached high enough where they can see that there are indeed levels and that they all belong. Yellows begin to see a larger picture and intuit holarchies. Disclosure of aliens will not be a shock to them. Revealed secrets of cosmic history also can be assimilated much more easily. Important point, as it is taught now, spiral dynamics does not take into account the reality of the two paths of spiritual evolution, the positive and negative path. So why is that? Because knowing how the positive and negative catalyze each other to produce evolution has not been fully appreciated, since this acceptance comes from a realm on conscious awareness not yet developed in the spiral dynamic system, which sucks. Our project, Disclosure Support, where we unite holistic services for a post-disclosure society, we hope to be able to dialogue with all points along the two-tier system and meet people where they're at. We are not only committed to helping people in a world rocked by disclosure, but we are consistently doing our own inner work to make sure we are embodying our true selves as much as possible. In this way, like many who have incarnated now and have awakened early, can be healthy. We can be healthy way showers, bridgers, and bridge the gap between yesterday and a cosmic tomorrow. Oh, it's tiny. Sorry, my font's tiny. Disclosure of ET life and of crimes against humanity will be like throwing cold water over sleeping children. Screams of surprise, anguish, and desire for direction will be the first responses. The fourth density proper finds its baseline at the first level of the second tier. In order to help the vast majority of humanity move through the first tier levels, skilled clinicians and healers will need to, again, meet people where they're at. Can't stress that enough. Okay, not belittle people for their belief systems. Learn to engage with people using their terminology. Therapy will be strength-based, narrative therapy, and motivational interviewing also will be included, and pulls from the positive in people's cultures, religions, and life experience to help them help themselves. It's important to teach people to meditate. Some psychological studies suggest that contemplation can rewire people's brain to accord with non-dual thinking. Shamanistic therapies that include altered states of consciousness, astral light work, crystal healing, and sound healing, entity removal should become more mainstream. Yeah. Example, the work of Stanislav Grof will be widely recognized. He's a Czech psychiatrist, one of the founders of the field of transpersonal psychology, and a researcher into the use of non-ordinary states of consciousness for purpose of exploring, healing, and obtaining growth and insights into the human psyche. Empower. So we want to empower others. That's one of the biggest parts of all this. How do we empower? We empower, we educate that we have a choice in how to interpret and integrate new information. We have a choice. We educate on the victim archetype that is programmed and deeply, deeply embedded into our collective psyche. It is necessary to take, so we want to teach and encourage that it is necessary to take self-responsibility for our own healing, growth, and our own life journey. We educate on the illusion. This awakening and elevating consciousness will be a long one and difficult one until we can let go of illusion. There has been an acceptance of illusion and distraction as an escape from past trauma and present trauma. However, now they're realizing the illusion is the trauma. We want to educate on the illusion of separateness, the matrix trap, and how we have been kept small and programmed to seek outside of ourselves. This will be very difficult, and there will be a lot of denial that a deep level of entrapment and control exists. Okay, so we also want to answer questions to the best of our ability, and we want to refer them out to other professionals and provide resources and encourage self-study and research. We want to assist others in grasping the central message that we are the creator. It may be easier for people to be present with the idea that we are pieces or sparks of the creator, but ultimately we want to send them in that direction of inward seeking and finding the creator inside. It is important to begin to shift the idea that the kingdom of God or the creator is among us or above us to the kingdom of God or the creator is within us. This is why meditation practices and yoga are becoming very important and emphasized. The spirit is already moving behind the scenes and has been for a while. In the last 20 years, there has been an explosion of the popularity of individual and group meditation. Even in the Protestant and the evangelical world, there is a huge surge in seeking contemplative practices. By silencing the mind and opening the heart through meditation or prayer, we can begin to see that love is everywhere, even in the shadows. We must awaken to our divinity that has always been there and start seeking solutions in our own internal world. Meditation is necessary to transcend current levels of conscious awareness. This is a great quote by an amazing Laura Eisenhower. True guidance is in showing others how to find and follow their own light and connection to God, Goddess Source, rather than recruit people into a belief system or attempting to convert them, as it still creates a dependence. Once folks connect with their own divinity and light source, the rest of those realizations will follow, and they will be able to see through the deceptions, spiritual false teachings, and government theater, and they can then start to believe in themselves, their creative ability, and to shift things. Recognizing the power of spirit, their awakening is about the solution and antidote rather than just the problem. We are the shift. Encourage self-reflection and embracing the shadow. Sometimes during traumatic times, all we have as refuge is our own internal connection with our source and our truth. We inform about the ego, which means, in this sense, false self. Our false self is the ego. The ego does not always have your best interests in mind and is not interested in the truth. Your ego is just interested in safety and consistency and repetitive patterns. This control system that we're in, like for example the education system, brings you to a belief system and feeds you right into the matrix. You can separate yourself from your ego and see it as two separate beings. Now is the time of facing our traumas that we have buried deeply and to heal and integrate. Karma is hitting us in the face, and we can no longer deny our destructive patterns anymore. Yeah, karma is just slapping me in the face like every other day. I don't know about you guys. So many who are called to do this healing work at this time, we have incarnated for this purpose. We are embracing the urgency to work on our own trauma and our shadows so that we can also help others from our firsthand experience. So we had to, yeah, sucks. All right, so questions during disclosure event and also currently forming in the great collective awakening's mind is, am I significant? Which this is all about our wounded child within. Do I matter? Am I loved? Am I seen? Am I significant? What helped you survive as a child? Think about that. What defenses persist to this day? I can't hardly read it. When you were a child, was it being unseen, quiet, angry? These distorted complexes are brought up again and again. We naturally want to separate from our own wounded child and our afflicted self and turn away from that wounded child. So the afflicted self or the wounded child is our wholeness is identified with our inner wounds, and we cannot rely on a firm sense of self so long as we disassociate from them. A great uniting drive in humanity, beginning at childhood, is that we want to matter, we want to be significant. Religion is what helped us to feel significant. Others do as mirrors, our accomplishments, our education, basically anything that we do and accomplish outside of ourselves. When we face our reality and truth, we can begin to initiate true transformation and change of consciousness. So this work is a wonderful example of how spiritual practice, meditation, knowing thyself, self-reflection, can blend with the positives of psychotherapy, therefore affecting our neurobiology. The inner childhood wounds can be transformed in a beautiful and balanced mind, spirit, and body complex. All right, how are we doing on time? Okay, so a sacred space to work through tension with compassion. So we must provide for others a sacred space. And compassion is a key to teach compassion. Working through the ever-growing dualistic tension of the current state of the world requires deep esoteric self-work. One of the main tasks of psychotherapy is to offer a glimpse in the mirror of our essential nature previously hidden from ourselves, to have a safe, non-judgmental place to go. Shadow work is not a pleasant process, and one that most of us avoid all our lives is shadow work. Not fun stuff at all. Approaching healing in energetic terms and placing emphasis on the heart and spirit away from the mind is imperative. This will be very difficult, of course, as we are conditioned to control with our logic and with our mind. This is where the ego self or the false self resides. Our minds impose structure on the world, and our mind needs order. Our mind needs to order our world. Our minds are subconsciously coloring our world through our God lens. This requires moving past the false self and giving in to and turning to conscious suffering. We are programmed to immediately look for instant fixes with our pills, our entertainment, drug and alcohol escapes. This matrix programming has been brilliant in making it very easy to escape and not face our true self. This is a great quote. True, and has gotten me through a lot of hard times, true transformation does not require hope and moves even in despair. By Mary Magdalene, channeled by Tom Kenyon. That's very powerful. So we want to help ease fear in others during these shifts and the changes. So once we do our own inner work and empower ourselves, finding our divinity, then we can start to loosen fear's grip. Universal law, so there's a universal law called the law of three, where things must fall apart in order to be rebuilt. So we're going to talk about the law of three, a cosmic law. So law of three is ancient wisdom teaching. By nature, there's an affirming force, a denying force, and then a reconciling force. This reconciling force will be an integrated newness. Hopefully, a post-disclosure society based on equality, unity, and love. So Jung had a colleague who was torn between being a mother or pursuing her career. And this is kind of the advice that he told her. There can be no resolution, only patient endurance of the opposites, which ultimately spring from your own nature. You yourself are a conflict that rages in itself and against itself in order to melt its incompatible substances. And it talks a lot about alchemy as well. In the fire of suffering, and thus create that fixed and unalterable form which is the goal of life. Everyone goes through this mill, consciously or unconsciously, voluntarily or forcibly. We are crucified between the opposites and delivered up to the torture until the reconciling third takes shape. And it will bring comfort to some that solving the immediate pain and trauma at hand is not the point. It's not our sole responsibility. Our responsibility lies in holding in awareness the irreconcilable, thank you, opposites, and the suffering through this process is natural. Perceiving yourself as a conflict can ease fear because it validates experience and adds meaning. We're all a mixture of incompatible substances. It's a beautiful image. All right, so conflict and emotional pain and choice is proof that something is going right in human existence. Jung goes on to state, a life without inner contradiction is either only half a life or else a life in the beyond, which is destined only for the angels. But God loves human beings more than the angels. So a beautiful symbol, visual for the law of three is the Vesica Pisces, as you see here. All right, so the law of three plays out during the shift by, again, having an affirming force that is life as we know it now, pre-full disclosure, just business as usual. The denying force is disclosure that disrupts belief, social, economic, science systems, and reconciling is processing, accepting, and forgiveness through restorative justice applications. Taking all three of these together, we have a new arising, what the awakened community calls ascension. Thank you. All right, so let's talk a little bit about science to help ease fear. For me, the role of science and the leaning on science for answers and understanding is more acceptable than the esoteric. Science is not the real problem, but scientism is. We need science, and even if our current science is based on older modalities, it has served us well. In fact, many scientists are more mystical, able to sit with tension, with a mystery than are many truthers and many other religious people. Yet there is a fundamentalist frequency within all spheres of life. Scientism is the explicit or implicit belief that all answers to life are found in the process of doing science. Science has functioned as its own god during recent history, demanding, as all gods do, worship and to be revered. Jung writes again, man is not complete when he lives in a world of statistical truth. He must live in a world where the whole of a man, his entire history, is the concern, and that is not merely statistics. It is the expression of what man really is and what he feels himself to be. So more left-brain people will find solace and are more likely to loosen the grip from fear by at first turning to science. Then we'll look for a more esoteric integration. In his book, Operations of Increasing Order, Professor John Gowan combines quantum physics, quantum psychology, and the ancient spiritual arts of transcendence and discusses ascension as a natural expression of human evolution. Second law of thermodynamics indicates that in a closed system, entropy consistently increases, and hence the universe appears to be running down. But it also appears that life processes are anti-entropic. That is, they generate order out of chaos. The results of this increasing order are discontinuous, emergent, and integrative, both in nature and in man. Professor Gowan offers scientific evidence that organic forms are anti-entropic by nature and have a tendency to create order from chaos. This concept goes along with many esoteric teachings regarding the upward spiral of ascension and our ability as a collective to bring order to chaos. We're really good, actually, making sense of chaos. Yeah, I mean, we're still all here somehow. As we ascend and become more service to others, therefore increasing our consciousness, excuse me, it is natural for us to come against an opposing force. It is important to understand this is vital to our evolution. This is the law of three, as also seen in other spiritual teachings like the law of one. Okay, conclusion. It's time for us to grow up and face our wounds and shadows. Most likely, if you are here listening to this and feel a calling to assist, you have begun the great work on the inner self. So you can assist others to begin their great work. Due to our collective cosmic connection, we are collectively paying the price for our unowned wounds. As empaths, especially, you may feel very heavy at times, lost in hopelessness and sadness. Inspiration from Bentinho Massaro. I listened to one of his recordings a couple nights ago. He talks about having feelings and emotions. When we have feelings of sadness, really try to see it as a gift and see it as bringing you back to the present. Emotions are a gift, and emotions is a signal from your higher self to turn back inward, strong into who you are, centered, and doing the best you can, no matter what outside circumstances may be. And a quote from the awesome James Gilliland: "You did not come to be absorbed by a very wounded, sick society. You came to change it, and you're not alone." And it's going to get messier. I'm sorry, but it's going to get worse. With disclosure, more and more every day, more partial disclosure. I have a feeling there's probably a bigger disclosure event coming up pretty soon in regards to the satanic child sex slavery. So it's going to get messier. We've got to be there for people. So we're all under pressure from the cabal and the matrix programming. The entire planet has been under extreme pressure and is only increasing. People will be acting more and more strange and triggered. We must keep our loving and compassionate energy high to remain strong and tolerant. If you feel called to assist in this ascension process, take the first step and stop the trap of perfection. We are meant to be here at this time for this work. You are very guided and supported, and you have no idea. No idea. The door now is open for you all. All you have to do is walk through. The bridges are coming up now, and each of you is being called to be those bridgers between a cosmic disclosure and a new cosmic reality. Keep service to others as your center. To love and forgive yourself more, then love and forgive others more. This is the balance you can always come back to. Let it be your compass, your center, and your guide. So, Quickly about our healers, we've had just a huge outpouring of support, healers and practitioners from all over the world that are offering services for people struggling with their awakening process, and are ready to stand by too to help during and after a major disclosure event. So our healers, post disclosure support healers, we feel a calling to be of service during this time. Our practitioners have felt a nudging and premonition most of their lives that they would eventually assist during this most important time. The seeds of being part of this call were planted pre-incarnationally and now are being watered by an activation. Many of these service to other healers say they have been waiting to help out with a project like this most of their lives, and they have been preparing for this exact moment in time.
That's exactly
Yeah. Thank you. So a quote from one of our healers, she says, "That's okay, I'm so excited. I'm so excited." It's part of it, yeah. I'm so excited. I truly feel that everything I have ever done in my life has led me to this point, and we are at the beginning of something amazing. I hear that from so many of them say the same thing. Okay, so our healers and practitioners, we offer holistic mental health tools, practices, resources, and counseling at free, donation-based, sliding scale, or lower cost. We nurture and support integration of old belief systems and religious paradigms with new information. We operate with a service to others philosophy, always. We are light workers believing that greater love, forgiveness, and compassion for self and others is the key to wholeness, joy, and increased consciousness. So, another quote by Cynthia: "Wherever you are, be grateful, conscious, and alert. See what needs to be done in the moment and do it in a way that you are moving in a direction of greater compassion, greater love, and greater understanding in the planet." So we talked about this. Most of us are wounded healers. We've gone through a lot. We've faced the shadow, we've been to the underworld, and we rose again in order to pave the way and help people. Yeah. And we're modern day shamans. We're called to be modern day shamans. So, and our shamanic journey has started with our dark night of the soul. We go to the underworld, look death in the face, acknowledge deep sorrow and loss, and somehow we rise again to tell the story. We can embody true empathy and authenticity. Many of us agreed to go through this process first and to be the way showers. We had to and agreed to have our worlds turned upside down first. So healers, it is time to embrace our shamanistic path and to inform our awakening communities and societies they are not alone, and tell them what we have learned. How we rose from the grips of death, and how we survived our dark night of the soul. So we learn from our experiences. So this is the first time I've ever talked about my Standing Rock experience or shown pictures. So I, last December for a month, I was called to Standing Rock. I was a crisis and trauma counselor. And so I learned definitely a lot about helping people through crisis at Standing Rock. So when given this task and vision of putting together post-disclosure and awakening services, I was very overwhelmed by the size of it all. So I was guided to reflect on my service at Standing Rock as a trauma counselor. When I had just gotten there, the height of the violence had stopped. However, I was dealing with a lot of people that had reactivated PTSD, especially within the veteran community. So some of the first clients that I attended to were veterans that had just went through an ordeal of being infiltrated by a CIA agent, posing as a general and a water protector. They were lied to, made to turn on one another, and this caused, of course, much chaos and trauma. From this experience, I learned some methods and protocols to assist that the veterans said helped greatly in their healing process after the crisis, trauma, and reactivated PTSD. So just briefly, yeah, big one, grounding in their body. Also, I learned about conserving the sacred, getting to know people, ask about their life, their story, beliefs. It's all about relationships and turning away from artificial communication because there can be life-giving aspects of someone's own personal faith. So we're here to help people discover great pearls within their own inner lives, which include culture and faith traditions. It's very important. Okay. This is inside the teepee that I lived in. Kind of hard to see. So, and also healers, we pay attention to synchronicities and dreams. So everything for me began kind of my whole awakening process last year at Mount Shasta during Corey's first speaks. Yeah, the first time he spoke, and that's kind of where the whole team met. Like we met everyone, and it definitely was like a soul family reunion. So last December, when I was at Standing Rock, a shaman asked me to do ceremony with her, and she said she felt led to bring me Mount Shasta headwaters. So, yeah, very interesting. Just kind of cute. Operates from inside only. I thought this was really cute. Okay, and so this is was a veteran project, so, man, people were so helpful and inventive, and a veteran had created this panel that absorbed the heat from the sunlight, and then there was like a motor that would blow in the heat to keep the room warm. So that was like invented by a veteran there at Standing Rock. So I thought it was really cool. This is me and a professor at Berkeley, and it was really interesting because most of us, there's about 12 people on our team, like 10 people were from the Bay Area. So I live in San Francisco, and so like 10 out of 12 people, there's like just, I don't know if it's an influx of light workers or healers in the Bay Area. So yeah, so it was really interesting. So, and I'm not sure what flag this is, but this is definitely very star family related. I get that. And if you look back here, that's the Cherokee Nation flag, and it's got 7 stars, and there's a connection with the 7 stars of the Pleiades, too. So at Standing Rock, I could talk about aliens, and star families openly, which is great. Yeah. So some examples of our amazing team. Carol McLeod, board-certified therapist, master's in marriage, family counseling, art therapy, school counseling, and hypnotherapy. She is an experiencer as well, ET experiencer. Christine Hunter Robinson is here, too. She's a master's in counseling and a UK certification in sexual abuse counseling, certification in past life regression therapy, addictions therapy, and subconscious intervention. Thank you. Oh, is she here? Oh, never mind. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I'm glad you're here too. Thank you. Cyan Kay from Amsterdam in India. She is certified by Breathwork Schools of Sandra Ray, and she has 16 years experience training breathwork guides, and her specialty is in self-help, past life regression, birth trauma release, releasing karmic themes, and belief systems, entity attachment removal as well. Susan is an author, teacher, certified master transpersonal hypnotherapist, certified remote depossession practitioner and trainer, and Sikkim master teacher, and certified Reiki master with specialty in past life regression and spirit release. That's a mouthful. So Sikkim I had to look this up. I didn't even know about this. Is a healing energy connected to the universal psychom symbols of Egypt and the heart. So I just learned that. Homer Lin is a medical doctor from Singapore, specializes in integrative medicine, counseling, energetic healing, and he's also offering his services for free. Gina is a board-certified licensed acupuncturist and herbologist. In addition, she has training and specialties in neuro-emotional technique and emotional freedom technique, other known as EFT. So thank you guys so much. Please visit our new website, which is launched today, disclosuresupport.org. Our blog is also linked to the website, and it's pretty cute. It's called Cosmic Composure. So that was, yeah. And also we have, so we're doing everything out of pocket right now until we build up to get our nonprofit, which takes time and money. So we do accept donations through PayPal on our website. So thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.